So the more exciting question is, how do you access these config maps? There are two ways on how you can do that, at least that come to my mind. Though the first is environment variables, and the second is mounting them as files. So what's the difference? We'll create a pod. Well, you could do a replica set deployment, where's more likely where you're going to use them, but in the end, the pod will access them, or particular the containers. So it's good enough if we use a pod here. You can, always take the same parameters and place them in your pod templates within your replica set or within your deployment. Alrighty, right. Let's create a pod with a config map as environment variables. And let's look at what we got here. So first of all, the container is a busybox container, and all it does is invoke the command env, which just like on any other shell, provides you with a output of your environment variables. So there's a section env which lists a set of environment variables that will be injected into the corresponding containers. As you can see, we have one container. So you specify the mapping of a secret into an environment variable on a per container, not a per pod, a per container level. So if you were to have multiple containers, you could mount the same config map, and in particular the same config map keys, into different environments of different containers within the same pod. So often you use uppercase letters for environment variables, where our key is different. So it's lowercase letters, it uses dashes instead of underscores, and that's okay, because we can specify them differently. So the name of the environment variable would be number of requests, and it takes its value from a config map with the name config example2, and in particular maps the value of the key corresponding to the key number of requests. Now the point is, you don't have to use a config map to create an environment variable. You can also use a fixed value. Then they would only provide a value attribute, and that will create an environment variable too. But you don't want to store information in your pod specification, or in your deployment or replica set specification, or later in your stateful set specification, that may change from deployment to deployment, because that would destroy the portability of your deployment specification. And therefore, we use config maps according to the 12-factor manifest. All right, so the two are very much alike. So you create the environment variable. You refer to a config map. This is the name of the config map that contains the value we are interested in, corresponding to that particular key. So let's apply this pod. I'm just drawing the gamma replica set so that we have a clear look at the pods here. So busybox config, this is our the container we've created. So we can kubectl describe, the pod. And as you can see here, it specifies the environment variables. Well, the pod has been terminated because it has completed successfully. And you can see that there is a config map, that our config map mount to environment variable has been successful. So the number of requests and the very important switch was set. And it also told that what it did, it set the key number of requests to config map config example2, which is very nice to tell us about that. And because we've created the container by invoking the env command, we should also have logs. So kubectl get logs, busybox. Alright, so this is basically all the environment variables our container has seen, and you can see there are a lot of other variables too. Here is the one that we are looking for. They came from our config map. So what did we learn? It means that we can create arbitrary sets of key value pairs as a config map. We can create config maps from files or from literals. We can also combine the two, by the way. So you could have in the same config map a file as a key value pair. You could also have additional literals like the one here. So you can combine the two options. They are not mutually exclusive.